Guys, it is time to move on to pattern creation. So at this point, we've refreshed ourselves on Pen Tool, you've drawn icons, we've played with color, you've played with some different coloring techniques for your icons, and now it's time to see what we can do with those icons within a pattern. As you can see from my screen, I already have a document open. I have chosen to keep two of the flowers that I colored in. These were the two I was most pleased with. And as always, I've just kind of kept this icon as a backup in case I need it. And the first thing you need to do is you need to select one or more of your icons for use in your pattern. And to do that, you can just use your black arrow. And if they're grouped, obviously, I can just click on the object that I'd like to use in my pattern. If I want to use more than one object, remember you can drag out a selection box to grab more than one. Okay. In this instance, I'm going to start with just my pink flower. Okay. Now, once this is active, you're going to come up to Object. You're going to go to Pattern and Make. Okay. So Object, Pattern, and Make. And you are going to see that your screen changes. We are now in pattern making mode. And again, we know we're in a mode because we have this gray bar here at the top. Okay, many of you have put yourself into modes by double clicking and putting yourself into isolation modes within grouped objects. But again, this is pattern editing mode, and that's what that gray bar indicates. Okay, my swatch panel is in the way, so I'm just going to close that out. But before I do, I want you to take note that this pattern has already been added to my swatch panel. It's in its current iteration, and of course I'm going to do some work to the pattern using my pattern options panel. Okay, but again, just to get this out of the way, I'm going to close it. And the first thing I want you to do is just take a look at your screen and get used to what you're seeing. First, this is the icon that we've selected and brought into pattern editing mode. This blue box shows the tile's edge. Okay, so this flower is essentially, if you think of your bathroom in tiles that are just run together up and down, left and right, that's essentially what's happening. Okay, this tile is copied and pasted again and again in the background. And what I want you to pay attention to as well is that this blue bar denotes an area that you can work within. So I can come over here and click on the flower and you see the bounding box. I can't come over here and select any of this, okay? This is just a preview and I want you to think of it as a preview of what could be. It's not necessarily there for you to edit, okay? To further understand this, I want you to come to the bottom of your pattern options panel and you're going to see show tile edge, and it's currently checked because we can see it. I'm going to uncheck it. Okay, and you can see obviously that is your tile. Okay, and you can toggle between having that active or not active. I personally like to have it active because it serves as a reminder of where I can add additional icons and shapes and whatnot. If I want to add circles to my pattern, I can come in and add some circles to these little areas. And if they're within this tile, they'll repeat along with the flower. If I were to accidentally apply circles exterior to my tile, they would not repeat. And if they do, they won't repeat in a predictable way. Okay, you'll get some little wonky things that happen. So I always leave my tile edge on. You also have this option for swatch bounds. And because we're working with a very simplistic pattern, you don't actually see anything different, but technically your swatch bound is your tile's edge in this particular tile type. For other tile types, you'll see tile type up here. That swatch bound may be very different. It may actually come all the way out. It may look more vertical. It may look more horizontal. Because it's not often visible, you know, and it's so dependent on the tile type, I tend to just leave it turned off. Okay. You also may or may not have noticed that my flower is more vibrantly hued than the copies in the back. And that's because these copies are dimmed. It's up to you really in terms of what you prefer to work with. If I work at 100%, I clearly have a better sense of what my pattern is going to look like. However, I also find it easier to think, oh, I can grab this, I can do this. And so by keeping it dimmed, it just serves as a reminder, okay, that those are pieces that I cannot actually edit. And in this instance, because this pink is pretty faint, 50% works better. When I'm working with darker hues, I tend to work more around 70%. Okay. Um, Now that we have kind of gone over the appearance of pattern editing mode, let's move on to actually editing our pattern.